In this video, I want to go ahead and talk about two things, right? I think we can discuss two things, two topics. One, obviously, we have Barcelona facing Newcastle in the Champions League. This is going to be played tomorrow. Barcelona do play away, right? And obviously, Barcelona have played Newcastle before in the season in the Champions League, group stages. So I want to see how they do, and I wanted to ask you, of course, predictions, scoreboard, lineups, maybe. What do you think about, possible players, performance recently? And the second topic I want to talk about, I'm pretty sure people have already been, discussing it or seen a lot of, is the interview that Xavi gave out yesterday, regarding his situation and his time at Barcelona, regarding, pretty much he pretty much attacked the Barcelona board, obviously starting with Laporta, right? And obviously how that situation, kind of extends over to Messi. So I want to see your take, and obviously we'll discuss more about it. But if you want, let's talk about the Newcastle game tomorrow first, because that game is going to be played tomorrow. And obviously it's an important game. So give me your score predictions, give me your lineups. Just what do you think?
Yeah, dude. Like you said, right, the good thing is that they already played Newcastle away, earlier this season, and they won 2-1 with those two goals from Rashford. So the Barca players should already have a clue of what to expect. And I remember that game, Newcastle had some pretty good chances, and
Hmm.
they were taking advantage of a lot they were taking a good advantage of the open field that they had behind Barca's back line. Of course. Um, but I think Joan Garcia had a pretty good performance that game. So I think if Barca take advantage of their situations, and if they have a pretty decent game defensively, I think they can get the win. The good thing is, well, there's two good things in this game coming up tomorrow. Is one is that Pedri's back, right? Because
Hmm.
honestly, bro, Barca need Pedri. I saw I think it was the first 60 minutes when Pedri was on the bench against Bilbao, and Barca do struggle a lot creating in midfield without Pedri. So I think Pedri's gonna start, which is good. And then the second good thing is that Lamine Yamal is fired up. So Lamine Yamal, I know you saw the golazo that he scored on
Yeah.
against Bilbao, bro. That was a sweet goal. So Lamine Yamal seems to be fired up. I think he's getting back to his best. And then of course, we have Joan Garcia, which I think he's been crucial for Barca, especially away from home. So I
Bro,
think with that,
but bro,
mhm.
real quick, you're forgetting somebody. You're forgetting Ferran Torres, my guy.
Oh man. And you know what, dude? I think it's a good time to go ahead and transition over to him real quickly, because I think besides, I don't know if you can agree with this, but besides the usual lineup, I think, obviously, let's mention real quick that Barca are not gonna have Balde and Koundé, right? So I think he's
Yeah.
gonna go with the same. I think he's gonna go with Cancelo, and I think he's gonna go with Eddie Garcia as fullbacks, and play Gerard Martin, and then Kobarasi in defense. That's what I believe he's gonna do.
I agree.
And then Bernard, which in my opinion he's been extremely good.
Mhm.
And really quickly, I do want to mention, De Jong again, bro. When he comes back, he doesn't have a spot guarantee because now Bernard is performing really good. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. And remember, I did tell you this when De Jong got injured. I was like, I sent you a text message. I was like, damn, dude, De Jong's gonna be out for I think about a month or so. And I told you, but you know what? It's sad to say, but I don't think I'm gonna miss him too much.
You
And
did say that,
honestly,
yeah.
dude, that's one thing about the John that we've always been saying. He's not like a Pedri or like a Lamine Yamal or even a Joan Garcia now, where you're like, damn, we're really gonna miss this player, you know?
Kubarsi, yeah.
Or Kobarsi, right? He's just not that guy, he's not that player, which he should be, but he's not. But anyways, and then the front, right? We're gonna have most likely Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, and here we go with the situation of Ferran Torres. Now, I want to ask something about Ferran Torres, bro. One thing that I am happy and I am glad is that a lot of people are calling him. They're calling him out now. They're putting his reels, his misses, out on display, right, on social media, especially on X, because I think a lot of Barca fans are starting to see how average he really is. But it's crazy because we've been talking about Ferran Torres' averageness for like about 3 years now. I want to say a season after he came back. So he came in 2022, I think, right? So I want to say by last season, bro, we were already. I think even Xavi's last season, we were already talking about how Ferran Torres, honestly, bro, he's just not a starter for Barca, period, because of the amount of chances that he misses. So I am glad that a lot of people are finally starting to see that, Barca cannot cannot count on this guy as a starter for Barca, especially up front, bro. With the amount of chances that he misses, I do want to add that he hid behind Lewandowski for so long because Lewandowski had that pressure of being Barca's number 9. He had that pressure. I want to say, mostly at this season, right? With Lewandowski this season, you can say his age caught up to him, and this season Flick has been benching him a lot more because last season, remember, it was Lewandowski who was a starter, right? And then Ferran Torres will come out as a sub, or if not, he will start some games. But
Right.
remember, let's not forget, right? Lewandowski was the one who started against Real Madrid in the 4-0 Clásico last season. So it was Lewandowski. Now that Lewandowski he's starting to kind of wean out, we're seeing Lewandowski's age catch up to him. He's been more on the bench now. Now Ferran Torres needs to be the one stepping up, and he has that responsibility. And what does he do when he has that responsibility? He crumbles. He crumbles, bro. And all this, talk about, oh, I have a shark mentality, all this crap. When you really have to prove it, this is who you are. So,
Soy el tiburón.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully, dude, that's the only good thing that I would say about Ferran Torres is that everybody's finally starting to point him out, call him out, and starting to see his averageness. And with that being said, if Ferran Torres starts tomorrow, we're definitely going to miss at least 1 or 2 chances.
Well, you know what? I'll add my take on Ferran Torres after I talk about Newcastle for a bit. But in regards to Newcastle, I think I'm gonna go out and say that I think Barcelona wins. Barcelona wins, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be between 1 or 2 goals. And I'll definitely say, right, Barcelona wins if they do come out playing the way they played in the second leg against Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey, right? Where we saw Barcelona, my goodness, they were playing really good. I think it's been Barcelona's best matches that I've seen this season, dude. This season, hands down, that match for me was the best Barcelona match I have seen. Champions League, Copa del Rey, performances, everyone in the league. That match to me was like, okay, if Flick can get Barcelona playing like this constantly, Barcelona can be there in the Champions League, right? Now, do I think Newcastle's going to create chances against Barcelona? Of course. Barcelona is very still, very shaky in defense, bro. We've been saying this since the beginning of the season that with the departure of Inigo Martinez, we saw Barcelona's defense pretty much be shaky throughout so far right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's gonna be a tough match. Of course, they're playing away. Barcelona's playing away, but I think that Barcelona can pull it through. I think Barcelona can pull it off.
I agree.
Now, right? Lineups. I'm same thing with you. Joao Garcia, of course. Kunde and Balde are not here, so in my opinion, Martin, Gerard Martin, Cancelo is going to take those flanks, and then we're going to have Kubarsi and Eddie Garcia, right? Middle, I agree with you, Bernal, right? Everything you said about him. Um, I do want to add before I get to the fraud, right? I do want to go ahead and also talk about the cam position, right? Not the Lamine Yamal, not the Rafinha, because they both, in my opinion, they're gonna start. They should start, obviously. So the player I want to talk about is Olmo, right? I want to go ahead and talk about Olmo. And the reason why I want to go ahead and talk about Olmo is because I think time in and time out, bro, me and you have also said about Olmo that Barcelona did pay 65 million for him, right? And sometimes, bro, when we see Dani Olmo on the pitch, it's very hard to justify his price tag and very hard to justify the reason why Barcelona got him, especially when you have Fermin, in my opinion, who right now is ahead of him. Right? I don't think we can argue that Fermin shouldn't be ahead of him. Now, I'm not discrediting Fermin because I think Fermin is a really good player, right? But the reason why I kind of get bothered with Olmo is because it's not like a Fabregas, you remember? Or it's not like a Thiago Alcantara, where they were in Barcelona, bro, and then you kind of felt bad for some of these players where, you saw Busquets, Xavi, the prime Iniestas there, right? So you would say, damn, Fabregas can't really fit in. There was times where maybe Pep Guardiola would use Iniesta as a left winger to kind of make room for Fabregas, you get me? Or vice versa. And same thing applied for Thiago Alcantara, right? But then when you look at Olmo, bro, really, bro, let's not forget that Fermin has been injured, right? And let's also not forget that Fermin has been pretty inconsistent throughout the season. So Olmo has had the chance to gain that spot, to take that spot, and to say, hey, you know what, this is my spot. But we don't see that from Olmo, right? So it's kind of annoying when I see Olmo play sometimes because I feel like he's just up and down. It's like a wave. It's just up and down, very inconsistent. And I think that when the season is over, if Olmo is still playing the same level, I think that we can see Barcelona selling him. Maybe not, but they should. But that's a whole different video, right? Let me just leave it at that with Olmo. Now I want to go ahead and talk about Ferran Torres, right? I agree
But
with
real
you.
quick, I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt it because I did want
Yeah.
to because I haven't talked about Olmo real quick before you get to Ferran the fraud. Um, the thing about Olmo too, bro, is that you know if you look at Olmo and Fermin, you don't really see a difference between both of them when they're on the pitch. There's no difference. The only difference that you see is the price tag, right? One was free, the other one cost 65 million. The age, one is 27, right? Olmo, 26,
Yeah.
27, around there. Fermin is what,
22.
21, 22,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's another difference. And besides that, bro, like there's just no difference between them. And Olmo right now, he should be ahead of Fermin, technically speaking. Fermin should be his backup and playing to give him rest, and then just subbing in when Olmo may be injured or maybe he has an off game here and there, right? But technically speaking, Olmo should be the starting one in that position, but he's not. So yeah, bro, I do agree with that. And then I'll let you finish this off. But one little comment that I want to throw is that it's hilarious, bro, because if you really think about it, you add the price tag of Ferran Torres and Olmo, you get over 100 million, right?
120, over 120, if I'm not mistaken, bro.
Yes. And then if you add their salary, right, it's quite a bit. Bro, those two players together is what Julian Alvarez gives you. Seriously. You don't need those two players if you had Julian Alvarez there. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, bro, it's not about getting more players. It's about getting the right players. You know? And yeah, bro, I mean, that's one thing that I wanted to add because we are starting this is gonna be almost full second season. And honestly, bro, besides maybe a couple of games where he made that nice goal, right, with the right foot, top corner
Mm-hmm.
earlier this season, maybe last season too, at the beginning of last season. But besides that, bro, we haven't felt his impact. But anyways, finish off with Ferran Torres.
Well, let me just add something regarding the Olmo, just to kind of, talk about what you said, or kind of give my opinion about what you said about no difference. I will actually say, bro, that in my opinion, I do see a difference, though. And I will say that Fermin right now is better than Olmo.
True. It's
Because the
true,
reason
bro.
why I say that is not simply because Olmo is better or Fermin is better technical wise. So I do know what you mean. But what I'm talking about is the effort they put on the pitch, right?
True.
Time in, time out, bro. We see Fermin running like a freaking dog in the pitch. And sometimes, you know what, bro? That's all it really takes. That's the reason why we appreciate the players like Asado, Rafinha, right? Because not only do they sometimes score goals, but they pressure, and they never stop running. So sometimes you can appreciate that. But sometimes when I see Olmo play, bro, it's just kind of like lazy. You feel me? Like more like I'm not trying to do that. So I feel and I agree with you. When Barcelona bought him, it was for him to kind of take reins of that position, bro, to take reins of that spot, but he didn't. He failed to do so. So unless you want to add something about real quick, about that, I mean, I can just continue with Ferran Torres if you want.
No, I'm okay. I already said what I had to say about Olmo.
All right. So Ferran Torres, right, bro? Just to kind of feed your point, I agree with everything you said, right? This is my opinion. The reason why Ferran Torres gets on my nerves, bro, is because of what you said, right? The guy cost Barcelona 55 million, and he's in the top 10 paid players at Barcelona, right? And then he talks about shark mentality, right? He talks about no one can with him when he's at his best moments. And then he does these stupid celebrations when he scores a tap and goals that he should be scoring, right? And I know that both you and I, bro, go back and forth so many times talking about Ferran Torres because people might be like, damn, these dudes are obsessed with Ferran Torres. Yeah, we pretty much are. We're obsessed with the idea that Barcelona need to let him go, but they don't, right? Whatever. Now, another thing I want to add is Flick's comments, right? I don't know. I'm sure you saw his comments
Yeah.
about right now Ferran Torres is not going through a good period. He's struggling, so we need to support him. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I don't remember Ferran Torres having a prime at Barcelona, bro. I don't remember Barcelona. I don't remember Ferran Torres being an undisputed starter for Barcelona ever. And this is even when Xavi was there, right? We talk about Xavi, who Barcelona pretty much preferred, could be political wise. Ferran Torres over Ansu Fati, right? They let go of Ansu Fati, they loan him out, right? And then Ferran Torres still can't take hold of that spot. Let's not forget, bro. Ferran Torres came into Barcelona playing as a left winger. That was his position. He failed to do that with Xavi, right? They loan out Ansu Fati, like I mentioned earlier, and then he comes over with Fleek, right? And he is still yet to be that good player that justifies the 55 million price tag. And then if we want to take it way more back, bro, let's talk about when he was at City, right? When he was at City, bro, there's a reason why Pep Guardiola said 55 million. Yeah, you can keep this guy right here. You can let him go. Because, bro, Ferran Torres has never been and never will be a Barcelona tier player. Let's just keep it real, bro. Ferran Torres will never ever be a Barcelona tier player, and I'm I confidently say this because sometimes I try not to say that with certain players like the Jong, with Rafinha, right? Because they can turn around and have seasons like the way they kind of have. Every player that we saw under Xavi, I'm talking about who were struggling, right? I'm talking about the Jong, the obvious ones, Pedri with his injuries. Fermin was already, we saw the impact Fermin has, so I wouldn't count him. I'm talking about the players that struggled. The Jong, Eddie Garcia, Rafinha, and even Lewandowski, right? He was
Hmm.
kind of like up and down. Every player has improved on their fleek, right? But can you tell me the same for Ferran Torres?
I would say that the only thing he improved probably was just being a better sub and being more annoying.
I think more delusional. That's what he improved, bro. That's what I think. I think that's his
But
improvement, bro.
but to be honest, bro, I agree with you. I just don't understand where his comments are coming from because, he's making it seem like Ferran Torres, like you said, had a prime or had a very good moment. But to be honest, dude, he was an alright sub, but that's it. I mean, are you really gonna say that for a player that's supposed to be a sub? Can you really say that? Oh, we need to help him get back to his best. You're a sub for a reason,
Hmm.
So and then this, and I did tell you right, and I think Flick needs to start being a little bit more fair because he has bench players that have not been doing good, and he's really quick to bench them. Like for example, Casado's one of them, right? Casado's been really quick at seeing the bench. Even Gerard Martin, bro. Um,
Even Rashford, bro.
Even Rashford, Balde too. We were talking about
Hmm.
Balde. He finally started benching him. But Ferran Torres, bro, he's just there. He's just starting. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe because Flick is saying this is all we have, so I gotta put him there.
No, bro, but he doesn't.
But
That's the
it's,
problem.
yeah.
That's the
So
problem that annoys me. Just real quick, because when you look at Barcelona's squad, let's not forget that in the beginning of the season, the preseason, Fleek tried almost a false nine, right? And then
hmm
let's also not forget that the intention of bringing Rashford in was for him to play as a striker and even as a
yeah.
left winger when he didn't play. So there's options. Play almost a false nine, right? And or play Rashford. You're gonna tell me that Rashford cannot do what Ferran Torres has been doing in these games, bro?
Oh
Because
yeah.
that guy is a mess. And I'm not, you know what? I'm not saying it just to be like, mean or whatever, bro. I'm trying to be non-biased here. Ferran Torres, in my opinion, has been the worst player that Barcelona has had for many reasons. His price tag, the opportunities that he's had in and out from different coaches, right? And even not just in Barcelona, but you're talking about Spain coaches, right? You're talking about Pep Guardiola and the English team. You're talking about him going to Valencia from Valencia to Barcelona, of course. All those coaches have played a huge role. And Ferran Torres, what, not having a good moment right now? What good moment, bro? You're playing for Barcelona. That you could say your mindset of you being not sure should have happened before you sign your first pro contract. And then after that, when you went to City to a big European team, now I'm not saying Valencia isn't, that should have been pressure right there. That should have been for
hmm
you to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I can't. I can keep up. I'm having a breakdown, mental breakdown. But for you to go ahead and say, just because, like I missed chances, yeah, dude, it's because you're not fit to play in Barcelona, bro. And I agree with you. I think Flick has to be a lot more, you know, you could say non like he has to be fair because other players could be like, why does this guy keep playing and we're getting banned? So for me, bro, Ferran Torres needs to leave, and I agree with you. It's crazy how quickly we can make a topic of Ferran Torres, bro. Because this Ferran Torres wasn't even supposed to be in our discussion, but it's because he's
Yeah, that's
annoying,
crazy.
bro.
Yeah, no, I agree with
So
you, bro. I mean,
I
we
think
just
that
won't
he
get.
needs. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick. We're not gonna get tired of talking about him until he leaves, bro. That's the truth.
No.
Yeah.
So just for me to finish off that, my thought process of Ferran Torres, I agree with you. If we see Ferran Torres playing tomorrow, we're gonna get two things. One thing is guaranteed for sure. He's gonna miss one or two clean chances. And the
Hmm.
second thing is if the second thing that is not, I'm not too sure about, but I can see that happening is he's gonna make a stupid ass celebration if he scores a goal. I can
Oh yeah,
guarantee you one of those two things for sure.
definitely. Hmm.
But whatever. Now, I mean, I don't know if you have any more things to say about Ferran Torres.
Nah, bro, I'm tired of talking about him to be honest. But then again, I can see myself keep talking about him until he leaves, like I said. So
Yeah.
gotta get used to it.
All right. Well, if you want, we can just finish off this video with the comments of Xavi, the interview he had with regarding Laporta.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure everybody has heard about it right now, but we talked about Xavi and Laporta's relationship when Xavi got fired from Barcelona. We also just kind of give a backstory real quick, right? We talked about when Xavi wasn't feeling good at Barcelona. He kind of came out and said he wanted to quit. And
Hmm.
then we then moved on where he kind of reversed his decision and he said he wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And then we go ahead and then now we're in present, right? Xavi gets fired, Fleet comes in. Both you and I were very skeptical, right? Because we did think that Xavi was still pretty good enough to keep going for Barcelona, given the fact that he had produced players from La Masia, right? And no,
Hmm.
and that's not taking anything away from Coleman because he also, debuted Masia players. But
Hmm.
Xavi, did his own little thing. And then now, obviously, Xavi gets fired, and then boom, we get a whole bunch of comments from Xavi stating that Laporta, pretty much, didn't really back him. He didn't want Messi back. He kind of asked for certain players. He didn't want to give him certain players. That Laporta is pretty much always lying. So, regarding Xavi's comments, bro, what do you think? Do you think that he has a point from what you've seen from an outside perspective as a fans? Do you think it's just, him being biased? What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I think. I think Xavi's hurt because I think if you look at what he said that he placed his stress on Laporta, right? And the Laporta, for some reason, backtracked on a lot of things. And then that this one dude named Echevarria is pretty
Hmm.
much the one that's on top of Laporta making the decisions. So we know that Laporta and Xavi didn't end in good terms. And then, like you said, right, we did talk about that. I remember we said that, Fleek was a gamble. He was like a gamble where you're throwing all your chips on black or red or green, right? Where if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't hit, then oh well, we gave it our best. And it turned out to be good. He hit, right? Because we can both agree that Barca have improved a lot under Fleek. But yeah, I do think that that Xavi, waited until this moment. He knows what he's doing. He didn't want to come out publicly before because he wanted to wait until the elections. It just so happens that Laporta was the one who decided to make the elections this week when it's the Champions League, starting the knockout stages. But yeah, he waited and he decided to go ahead and make that public, during the election week. So I think for sure we know that Xavi does not like Laporta. And then we also know that, there's a lot of people who are defending Laporta, and I get it because I still want Laporta to continue because I believe that he has unfinished business at Barca still. And I get why some people can defend them, and go against Xavi because there's a lot of people that are going against Xavi.
Yeah.
But I would say is that you cannot just defend everything that the president or the club does either, because at the end of the day, they're all humans. They still make mistakes. Because it is pretty much common sense that Laporta was the one who decided not to renew Messi, right? He's the one that decided to get rid of Messi. And I get it. Perhaps he had to. Perhaps it was just an ego thing. Maybe he didn't want Messi to have that much power at Barca, or whatever it may be. Whatever the reason it may be. But one thing for sure is that it does appear that it was politically motivated. I believe that before he regained power, he probably didn't have the intention to renew Messi or to keep Messi. And then, of course, he used Messi to gain, power as president, right? So, yeah, I do think La Laporta has made his mistakes, bro. And I think that also, there's there's a lot of stories out there, but some are saying that Laporta and Deco, they were already talking to Flick before they decided to get rid of Xavi. And then some are saying that no, it happened after Xavi decided or told him that he wanted to quit. We don't know what's the truth, but I wouldn't be surprised, bro, if they were already talking to Flick before they decided to get rid of Xavi. And then once Flick gave him the green light, they were like, okay, cool, Xavi, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I do think, this week is the election week, so I think they had the first debate. Victor Font and Laporta had the
Yeah.
first debate today. So we're gonna find out who's gonna be the new president on Monday next week. So yeah, to be honest, I want Laporta to continue, bro, because like I said, I still think that he has unfinished business at Barca. And then one thing I would add too is that Flick at the press conference today, he also said that him, Deco, and I think he said the whole team.
Bojan.
Yeah, they're pretty much in agreement with what goes on at the club, what players they're looking at from La Masia, they're trying to build for the future, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think Flick is pretty much happy with the current board as well, which is Laporta and Deco and Bojan.
Okay. Yeah, I see. It makes sense. Now, real quick question before I give you my thoughts about this. Do you think you will see Xavi's words any different? Has Xavi came out and said the same thing he did last night or yesterday in an interview when he first got fired, the day after, the same week of getting fired? Do
Yeah,
you
of
think that it'll
course.
be make difference for you?
Yeah, I think of course, bro. I think the moment is very opportunistic, of course.
Yeah.
He Xavi knew what he was doing. Xavi wanted to wait until the elections to say what he wanted to say, and I think, to be fair, if I'm in his position, I probably would have done the same. If I really wanted to say something, I'd be like, okay, well, we know there's elections at Barca. I'll wait, and then I'll just say whatever I have to say during the election time. I mean, to be honest, because had he said that back then, it could have also looked like, oh, bro, you're just bitter. You got fired. You're just bitter. Get over it. Even though it looks like it's still the same thing now, but now you're kind of starting to see that Xavi has a motive behind it. Like he really, really, really doesn't want that guy to continue as president.
Yeah.
So there's something deeper that we don't know.
Yeah. So I think that if Xavi would have came out and said the same things he said last week, I mean the week before, the week of getting fired or the day of getting fired, obviously everybody would look at it differently, right? I think that too. Now, from a non-biased point of view, because just for me to state, I want to state this first. I also want Laporta to continue, right? Because I think that Laporta has made tough decisions at Barcelona that were and are needed, right? Coman getting fired, Xavi getting fired because of how Flick is doing now, and obviously the non-renewal of Messi, right? That could be kind of debatable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a standpoint of like, you know what, economically, Barca couldn't afford them. Okay, I get it, right? I'm with that. Unfortunately, you know what, no players internal, bro. And Ronaldinho has came, Cruyff has came, Romario has came, Maradona has came. Talking about all
The
these
only
legends,
thing,
right? Et cetera, et cetera. Eto,
the, yeah,
you know?
the only thing I would add quickly to that is that I think the whole debate is that yeah, you say you couldn't afford Messi, but then again, you went on and you got other players like Lewandowski, Rafinha, Ferran Torres,
Torres.
Kunde. So I think that's what the problem is. That we get that if that would have actually
Mhm.
been your standpoint, and you would have never went on a splash on a splurge spending the following season after Messi left. So yeah.
Yes, because I saw one clip, and then the clip of the interview that I saw was stating that Laporta said no to the return of Messi, but then
Mm-hmm.
he went ahead and he splurged on other players, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I think that there are things that Laporta did, right, that maybe he did them not with bad intention, but that he had to, right? Now we look at Xavi's point of view, and I think that we can give them the benefit of the doubt too. Obviously, everybody's gonna say, "Ah, he's just bitter." But I mean, so is Laporta, to be honest, bro, because Laporta's put out a comment out there to say, I'm very saddened by the words of Xavi because I know where he comes from. Because with the same players that he lost, Flick is winning. But I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, dude. Don't forget that Xavi won you the league. Don't forget that Xavi competed with Real Madrid and he beat them in the Super Copa de España, right, or the Copa del Rey. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
So that just becomes bias, and you're being a bitter person. Let's speak facts. Facts are that. you also didn't want Messi there because there was another report that came out and said that Laporta was like, I don't, that somebody, um, you could say, gave Laporta an opinion and said, like, hey, you know what? You shouldn't sign Messi because he's gonna like fight or he's gonna battle you in terms of power, right? So Laporta, I think, with that being said, and he obviously maybe seeing like the economical factor in it, he was like, yeah, let's not renew Messi, let's not get him back. Okay, whatever. That goes out the window. But then let's also not forget that Xavi wanted certain players as well, right? Yes, he wanted Rafinha, right? Yes, he wanted Subimendi, which you didn't get, and you threw Victor Roque at him, you guys and Deco, whoever it was, right? So then, little by little, bro, the relationship is going to start deterring. Did Xavi make mistakes? I think so. I think Xavi made a mistake by saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to be at Barcelona anymore," and then making it seem like, "Oh, well, you know what? Change my mind. Let me continue." You can't do that, right? You can't do that as a coach. You have to also have a backbone, in my opinion. I think that's the inexperience of a coach and Xavi at the time. So, with that being said, I think, right, there's a lot that can be taken out of context here, but we don't know the truth. It's a lot of he said, they said, this said, whatever. All I know is that supposedly right now Messi's camp say that whatever Xavi said is 100% true. And then you have
Yeah.
Javier Tebas from the Liga president. The Liga president is saying that supposedly that Laporta never made an effort to sign Messi. And then you have other people saying that even Fleek himself said that he's not going to opinion about it. But he did mention, Xavi mentioned that supposedly, yeah, Barcelona confirmed that, Flick confirmed to him that Barcelona were talking to him
Yeah.
before firing him. So it's a lot of, he said, it sucks. But I think that at the end of the day, bro, there's always going to be things going on at the club. It's not the first time. We saw that against
Well,
Pep Guardiola, with Pep
yeah.
Guardiola.
This is what we signed up for, because Barca is an extremely political club,
Yeah, it
extremely
is.
political. So, basically, if you really follow Barca, then you'll know they're extremely political, and there's a lot of things that they do, that are like, you know. And the good thing is that they can change power. The presidents will come and go, but yeah, it's extremely political in there, bro.
It is. And, like I was saying earlier, it's not the first time. We saw that with
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola, with the relationship they deteriorated with Sandro Rosell, Pep Guardiola. They even tried turning Pep Guardiola with Tito Villanova, right? We saw that. Yeah, we saw that with Setien. And the reason why was because they knew the kind of power Guardiola was trying to gain at Barcelona.
Did
This
you?
guy
Uh,
came to
uh,
treble and all that.
yeah, and then do you also remember when Bartomeu put spies on the Barca players?
Yeah, the Barca gate. With
Dude,
Piqué. Yeah, dude, it's a lot.
it's
It's not the first time that a
crazy, bro.
big scandal comes out like this, right? And like how you mentioned,
No.
the Bartomeu, right? With
The
the putting
Neymar
spies on the
signing,
players. The Neymar
the Ne-
signing.
the Neymar signing, bro, where Barca went, they gave 40 million to Neymar's dad,
Yeah.
his agent, and then they got him behind closed doors because Real Madrid
Yeah.
were close to getting him.
It's a lot of scandals,
Yeah,
you get me?
bro.
And I think that's where Xavi is saying too, right? Where it's like, hey, wait a minute. It's not just about me being a bitter person, but it's, let's be honest, there's always scandals behind. Whether if it's the
Yeah.
president, the front lines, maybe not, but it's the people around them too, and the board of
Hmm.
directors. So a lot of that has to be said. And I think that, in my opinion, bro, in the future, I think that Barcelona legends that have came to Barcelona should be more in power. And I'm talking about players like maybe Carles Puyol, Piqué. I'm talking about Rafa Marquez, for example, in that era. Because let's also not forget, bro, that the son of Johan Cruyff and
Hmm.
Mateus Alemani, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Alemany. Hmm.
Yeah, they left. And they left not through the front door, to be honest, bro. They kind of left through the back door. So, like how you mentioned, if you really follow Barcelona, you can see that there's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors that later on comes out, and the public is like, "Oh my god!" But it's like, well, you're saying, "Oh my god," because you haven't really been seeing like all the little its and bits that happen.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate for Xavi, bro, because to me, I think Xavi, deserves a lot more credit given the kind of situation that he came into Barcelona. And I also think that Xavi himself made mistakes, but I also think that Laporta himself has made mistakes. And I think that Laporta's mistakes has been, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna tell you how it is. I don't want Messi back because he's gonna ruin the Bar. It is what it is. Later on, things come to life, and it is what it is, bro. One thing for sure is we can't live in the past, right? We have to live in the present. And the present is we have a lot of players right now, bro, that we can look for the future and say, man, Barcelona's going to be a really good team 5, 10 years from now if they're managed very well and are able to keep up the same level head that they have so far. Just my opinion.
I agree, dude. I agree that Barca have a good future if, like you said, if the right people gain power. If we have another Bartomeu, Rosell, and
Yeah.
but yeah. So well, yeah, we'll see what happens, dude. But yeah, it's crazy what's going on, to say the least.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's see what happens with the Champions League tomorrow, bro. Let's see what happens with Ferran Torres missing a goal. And then let's see what happens in elections. I want to see. Maybe me and you can discuss in another video the outcome of the elections. And well,
Yeah.
actually, just real quick, so we finish the video. Well, just give me your thoughts. Who do you think wins the elections? And then we'll discuss the results after if you want.
I want Laporta to continue, bro. I have a feeling that Victor Font is either gonna get really close or might actually win. I have a feeling, yeah. But I want
I
Laporta
think
to continue. Yeah.
I want Laporta to continue as well, but I think Laporta wins. But I think the battle, like you said, the result's going to be kind of like closer than
Yeah,
people expect,
really close. Yeah.
especially after what happened yesterday.
Yeah, especially after today, after that, yeah.
All right, let's see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Real quick though, what will you do if what will you do if Ferran Torres has a penalty tomorrow, bro? He misses a penalty.
I'm gonna need this video right now. All right, then we'll see what
All right.
happens. Enough about that shrimp. I don't want to talk about him anymore.